Have you ever felt the subtle tremor of ancient waters, not just in memory, but in the very core of your being? Do you sense a whispered promise carried on winds that swept over a submerged world long before your time? Imagine for a moment standing on the precipice of a vast, unbroken horizon as a deluge descends, not merely as rain, but as a cleansing fire that consumes all that was and births all that will be. You stand there not as an observer, but as a recipient of a sacred breath, a divine promise etched into the very fabric of existence. What if the story of Noah, often told as a child's tale of animals 2 by 2, holds a deeper, more profound mystery? What if it is not just about a flood that once was, but about a spiritual cleansing that is forever at work within you? A covenant, not merely with a man and his family, but with the very essence of humanity. A promise that resonates in the quiet chambers of your heart, echoing through the ages. Are you ready to unlock the secret behind the ark, to truly understand what God's covenant with Noah really means for your destiny right now in this very moment? Subscribe if you're ready to unlock the secrets never told, and comment 777 if you're ready for the hidden knowledge.
In the beginning, a world spiraled into a deepening shadow. You can almost feel the weight of it, the spiritual density accumulating layer upon layer, like dust settling on a forgotten altar. Humanity, once bathed in the pristine light of creation, had turned its gaze inward, towards the fleeting desires of the flesh, forgetting the boundless expanse of the spirit. Every thought, every intention, every beat of the human heart was steeped in a profound, almost suffocating darkness. It was as if the very air itself had become heavy with the lament of a sorrowful creator. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. Genesis 6:5. Can you perceive the divine ache, the sorrow of a love so vast it could encompass both boundless joy and profound grief? Amidst this encroaching twilight, a single figure emerged, a solitary beacon against the encroaching storm. His name was Noah, and he walked with God. Not merely alongside, as one might walk with a friend on a well-trodden path, but with God, in a communion so intimate it transcended the veil of the physical. He was a whisper of hope in a cacophony of despair, a testament to what remained pure in a world that had seemingly lost its way. He found grace in the eyes of the Lord, a grace that was not merely a reprieve, but an invitation into a deeper mystery, a hidden purpose.
Imagine the burden, the weight of a divine decree, resting upon the shoulders of one man. The world scoffed, no doubt, at his strange preparations, at the lumber rising in the desolate landscape, defying all reason. They saw only the mundane, the absurd, unable to perceive the deeper truth, the spiritual architecture being meticulously crafted. But Noah, he heard the voice that pierced through the din of human folly, the voice that spoke of a cleansing, a profound reset. He was called to build an ark, not just a vessel of wood and pitch, but a sanctuary, a womb for a new world. This ark was a symbol, a prophetic echo of the hidden self, the sacred space within each of us that remains untouched by the floods of chaos and confusion that rage without. Make thee an ark of gopher wood. Rooms shalt thou make in the ark, and shalt pitch it within and without with pitch. Are you building your own ark, preparing a sacred space within for the inevitable storms of life? The dimensions of the ark, so precisely given, were not arbitrary. 300 cubits in length, 50 in breadth, 30 in height. These were not mere measurements, they were sacred geometry, a divine blueprint for survival, a pattern for spiritual endurance. Length, breadth, height. They spoke of expansion, of holding, of elevation. They pointed towards a reality far beyond the physical, a truth that could only be apprehended by the spirit. Think of the 3 levels within the ark, a tiered ascension, from the lower depths through the middle realm to the upper reaches where the light entered through a window. Does this not mirror your own journey? From the earthly concerns that bind you, through the struggles that define you, towards the illuminated understanding that liberates you. As the time drew near, a profound stillness descended. The laughter of the disbelievers faded, replaced by an eerie quiet. And then the heavens opened. Not with a gentle rain, but with a torrent, a relentless deluge that seemed to tear the very sky asunder. All the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened. Genesis 7:11. It was more than water. It was the dissolution of a world, a cosmic undoing, a return to the primeval chaos before creation. The flood was a mirror, reflecting the spiritual chaos that had consumed humanity. Every sin, every transgression, every act of selfishness was washed away, not by vengeance, but by a merciful, devastating grace. It was a baptism of the world, a purgation of the old to make way for the new. Within the ark, a different reality unfolded. A contained universe, a microcosm of life, patiently awaiting the dawn of a new age. The animals, drawn by an unseen force, entered 2 by 2, a testament to balance, to partnership, to the duality of creation seeking unity. Think of the harmony, the quiet coexistence within that vessel, a stark contrast to the turbulent world outside. It was a living prophecy, a glimpse into a potential future where peace reigned, where all beings coexisted in a sacred dance. And Noah, he was the guardian, the shepherd of this fragile hope, embodying the stillness and faith required to navigate the unknown. He trusted, even when the horizon was swallowed by an endless gray, even when the world outside screamed its final gasps. He knew, deep within his being, that beyond the deluge, a promise awaited. The waters swelled, rising above the highest mountains, erasing all traces of the old world. For 40 days and 40 nights, the rain descended, a period of purification, of waiting, of profound transformation. 40, a number laden with spiritual significance. 40 years in the wilderness. 40 days of temptation, 40 days after resurrection. It speaks of trials, of testing, of a journey through the crucible of experience to emerge refined, renewed. And then the waters began to recede, slowly, imperceptibly at first, like a breath drawn after a long, arduous exhalation. The ark, once a tiny speck adrift in an infinite ocean, began to feel the stirring of solid ground beneath its keel. It came to rest upon the mountains of Ararat, a place of high elevation, a place of new beginnings, a place where the divine and the earthly once again met. Here, upon the resurrected earth, a new covenant was forged, not merely with Noah, but with every living creature, with the very earth itself. A rainbow, shimmering in the aftermath of the storm, became the visible sign, a celestial arch spanning the heavens, a bridge between humanity and the divine. I do set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be for a token of a covenant between me and the earth. This was not a covenant born of fear, but of profound, unwavering love, a promise whispered across the vastness of time and space. Never again would all flesh be cut off by the waters of a flood. Never again would the earth be destroyed by a deluge. This was a promise of enduring grace, of cycles of renewal, of an unbreakable bond. But what does this mean for you? What secrets does this ancient covenant hold for your own unfolding destiny? The rainbow, with its myriad colors, is more than just a beautiful spectacle. It is a spectrum of divine light, a symbol of unity and diversity, of the interconnectedness of all things. Each color represents a facet of divine grace, a different vibration of the Creator's love. When you gaze upon the rainbow, you are not just seeing light refracted through water droplets, you are witnessing a sacred affirmation, a perpetual reminder of a divine promise that transcends the limitations of time and space. It is a sign of hope, a beacon in the darkest storms, a testament to the enduring presence of grace in a world perpetually in flux. It tells you that even after the deepest trials, after the most devastating losses, a promise of renewal, of beauty, of profound connection awaits. It is a covenant not just of preservation, but of transformation. But the covenant with Noah was not merely about physical preservation from a flood. It was a profound spiritual declaration, a promise that even in the face of overwhelming darkness, a remnant would always remain, a seed of light preserved, a pathway to rebirth always open. Think of the spiritual floods that threaten to engulf you in your own life, the tidal waves of anxiety, the currents of despair, the storms of uncertainty. Does this ancient story not whisper a profound truth into your anxious heart? That within you there is an ark, a sanctuary built by divine design, capable of weathering any storm. That within you there is a promise, a rainbow of hope waiting to emerge after the darkest night. The covenant was also a recognition of human nature, flawed yet redeemable. God knew the inclinations of the human heart, even after the great cleansing. For the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth, Genesis 8:21. This was not a condemnation, but an acknowledgement, a profound understanding that even after a new beginning, the struggle would continue. And yet, despite this knowledge, the promise remained. This speaks to a divine love so vast, so unwavering, that it embraces even our imperfections, offering a path to redemption not through perfection, but through persistent return, through a continuous turning back towards the source of all light. You are not expected to be flawless, but to be willing to embark on the journey of continuous renewal. Consider the deeper meaning of the animals entering the ark, not by force, but by an innate drawing, an intuitive understanding of the impending change. This speaks to an inner knowing, a spiritual instinct that guides us towards safety, towards truth, even when the external world seems chaotic and uncertain. Do you listen to that inner prompting, that subtle nudge, that quiet voice that whispers warnings and guidance? Or do you drown it out with the clamor of the world, with the noise of superficial distractions? The ark was a haven, but it was also a test of faith, a call to surrender to a greater plan, to trust in a wisdom beyond human comprehension. And Noah, he embodied this surrender, this unwavering trust, becoming a vessel not only for physical life, but for the very essence of faith itself. And what of the raven and the dove sent forth from the ark, symbols of exploration, of searching, of discerning the signs of a new beginning? The raven, returning, unable to find a resting place, signifying the lingering chaos, the still present desolation. But the dove, twice sent, first returning with nothing, and then, at last, with an olive leaf, a vibrant green against the backdrop of a world reborn. The olive leaf, a symbol of peace, of life, of hope, a testament to the receding waters, to the renewal of the earth. This is your own journey, is it not? The raven represents the restless mind, searching for answers in the desolation, often returning empty-handed. But the dove, your spirit, persistently seeking, until it finds that singular sign of hope, that tangible evidence of new growth, that promise of peace. This is the patience required in your own spiritual unfolding, the quiet waiting, the persistent seeking, until the signs of renewal emerge. This covenant, sealed with the rainbow, was not just a historical event. It was a cosmic declaration, a timeless principle embedded in the very fabric of existence. It speaks to the cyclical nature of life, death, and rebirth. It speaks to the inherent resilience of creation and to the unwavering love of the Creator.
It is a promise that even after the deepest falls, after the most profound destructions, there is always a path back to wholeness, a new beginning waiting to unfold. It is a call to awaken to this enduring truth, to recognize the divine promise woven into your very being. The ark itself was more than a vessel. It was a living parable. Think of its construction. Gopher wood, a resilient and durable timber, sealed within and without with pitch. This pitch, a dark, viscous substance, made the ark waterproof, impenetrable to the destructive forces of the flood. What is the pitch in your life? What is that protective layer that seals you from the turbulent waters of fear, doubt, and despair? Is it faith? Is it an unwavering trust in a higher power? Is it the inner wisdom that guides you, insulating you from the chaos that rages outside? The ark then becomes a symbol of your inner sanctuary, that sacred space within your soul that remains untouched by external storms, a place where the divine presence dwells, protected and preserved. Consider the act of entering the ark. It wasn't a casual stroll. It was an act of profound obedience, a step into the unknown, a surrender to a divine directive. Noah, his family, and the animals, they all had to cross a threshold. This crossing is a powerful metaphor for your own spiritual journey. To enter the ark means to leave behind the old world, the old ways of thinking, the old patterns of behavior that no longer serve your higher purpose. It demands a letting go, a stepping away from the familiar comfort of the sinking world, and a courageous embrace of the divine path, even when it seems counterintuitive, even when the world outside mocks your choices. Are you willing to cross that threshold, to step into the ark of your own spiritual truth? The 40 days and 40 nights of rain were not just a period of destruction, but of purification. The earth was being cleansed, not just physically, but energetically. Every lingering shadow, every accumulated grievance, every act of injustice was being washed away, returning the world to a state of pristine potential. This purification mirrors the deep cleansing that must occur within you. Sometimes the storms of life feel overwhelming, as if they will drown you. But what if these very storms are a divine mechanism for purification? What if the challenges you face are not meant to break you, but to wash away the dross, to reveal the pure gold of your spirit that lies beneath? It is in the deepest waters that hidden truths often surface, where the true strength of your inner ark is revealed. And the mountains of Ararat, where the ark finally rested, not in a valley, not on a low plain, but on the peaks at a high elevation. This speaks of ascension, of a new perspective gained after the trial. When you have weathered your own personal floods, when you have endured the deepest purifications, you too will find your resting place on higher ground. You will see the world from a new vantage point, with clarity, with wisdom, with a profound appreciation for the journey you have undertaken. The perspective gained after tribulation is invaluable. It is the wisdom born of experience, the resilience forged in fire. What spiritual mountain are you destined to ascend after your current trials? The rainbow, the eternal sign of the covenant. It is a spectrum of light, revealing the hidden colors within the pure white light. It speaks of diversity within unity, of the myriad expressions of divine love. But it is also a bridge, a bow in the heavens, pointing from earth to sky, connecting the human realm with the divine. It is a promise that the divine presence is always reaching down, always extending grace, always offering a path to reconciliation and peace. When you see a rainbow, do you just see a meteorological phenomenon? Or do you perceive the ancient promise, the divine affirmation echoing through the ages? I will remember my covenant. This covenant is not just for Noah, it is for you. It is a perpetual reminder that even in your darkest moments, when all seems lost, the divine light will break through, and a promise of new beginnings will be unveiled. This covenant with Noah transcends the literal flood. It is a cosmic principle woven into the very fabric of existence.
It reveals that creation is not a static event, but a continuous process of death and rebirth, of destruction and renewal. Just as the earth was purged to allow for a new flourishing, so too must parts of your old self, old habits, old beliefs, be purged to allow for your spiritual growth. This is the continuous work of the soul, the shedding of the old skin to allow for the emergence of the new, vibrant self. It is a promise that transformation is always possible, that you are never truly stuck, that every ending holds the seed of a new beginning. Consider the breath of life that God breathed into Adam and how the covenant with Noah re-emphasizes the sanctity of life itself. After the flood, God reaffirms the mandate to be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth, Genesis 9:1. This is not just a biological command, it is a spiritual imperative to cultivate life, to nurture growth, to bring forth fruit in your own spiritual garden. It is a call to be a co-creator with the divine, to actively participate in the ongoing process of creation, to bring beauty and light into a world that is always in need of it. What are you cultivating in your life? Are you sowing seeds of love, of compassion, of truth? Or are you allowing the weeds of negativity to choke out your spiritual garden? The covenant also implies a profound responsibility. Noah was entrusted with the preservation of life, with the sacred duty of tending to the future. Similarly, you are entrusted with the preservation of your own soul, with the sacred duty of nurturing your inner light. The covenant is not a passive promise, it is an active partnership. It requires your participation, your vigilance, your conscious choice to align with the divine will. It asks you to be a steward of the gifts you have been given, to honor the sacredness of life, and to live in a way that reflects the divine light within you. What responsibilities are you being called to embrace in your life? Responsibilities that will shape not only your destiny, but the destiny of those around you. The story of Noah is often read as a warning, a tale of divine judgment. But it is, in its deepest essence, a story of unconditional grace and unwavering promise. Even in the face of human wickedness, even when the heart of man was continually evil, God did not abandon humanity. Instead, He provided a path to salvation, a means of preservation, and a covenant of perpetual hope. This speaks to a love so profound that it extends beyond human understanding, a love that offers redemption even when it seems least deserved. It is a testament to the divine patience, the divine long-suffering, and the enduring desire for humanity to return to its original state of grace. Do you perceive this unconditional love in your own life, even in the midst of your perceived imperfections? The 7 days of waiting before the flood began, Genesis 7:4, are also significant. 7, a number of completion, of perfection, of divine rest. It speaks of a period of divine preparation, a sacred pause before a monumental shift. And then, the 7 days after the ark rested on Ararat, waiting for the dove to return, Genesis 8:10, 8:12. These periods of waiting are not empty voids. They are pregnant with meaning, times of spiritual incubation, where unseen forces are at work, preparing the way for what is to come. How do you approach the waiting periods in your life? Do you fill them with anxiety, or do you embrace them as sacred pauses, moments for inner reflection and divine preparation? The hidden meaning behind the ark is not just about a historical event that happened thousands of years ago. It is a living truth, a spiritual allegory unfolding within your own life right now. You are Noah, building your ark in the midst of a chaotic world. You are the one called to preserve the purity of your spirit, to weather the storms of life, and to emerge onto higher ground, embraced by the divine promise of perpetual renewal. The flood is not merely an external event, it is an internal process of purification, of shedding the old to embrace the new. The rainbow is not just a meteorological phenomenon, it is a spiritual promise, an eternal beacon of hope illuminating your path.
This ancient covenant is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit when it aligns with the divine. It shows that even when the world seems to crumble, when foundations shake, when all appears lost, there is an enduring seed of hope, a divine blueprint for survival and rebirth. It teaches us that faith is not merely belief, but an active trust, a willingness to build, to prepare, to step into the unknown, guided by an unseen hand. Are you trusting in that unseen hand to guide you through your own life's uncertainties? Are you building your spiritual arc piece by piece, day by day, knowing that a new world awaits beyond the deluge? The very structure of the arc, its single door, its single window, its 3 decks, speaks to a profound spiritual order. The single door reminds us that there is only one true entry point into safety, one way to align with divine purpose. This is not about exclusivity, but about focus, about centering oneself on the path that leads to life. Are you seeking to enter through that singular door of truth, or are you distracted by myriad pathways that lead nowhere? The single window at the top suggests a singular divine illumination, a light from above that guides the way. It is a reminder to look upward, to seek divine perspective, especially when the world below is shrouded in darkness and confusion. It is the clarity of divine vision, not human understanding, that ultimately provides direction. And the 3 decks? They echo the tripartite nature of existence: body, mind, and spirit. Or perhaps the past, present, and future, all contained within the sacred vessel of the moment. The lowest deck, where the most basic needs are met, the middle deck for the practicalities of survival, and the highest deck, closest to the window, closest to the light, where connection to the divine is most profound. This is your own being, structured for ascent, designed for growth, moving from the earthly to the spiritual. Are you tending to all 3 aspects of your being, or are you neglecting one in favor of another? The story of Noah is also a testament to patience and perseverance. Imagine the years of building the ark, the ridicule, the sheer physical and mental effort involved. Then the long months adrift, the uncertainty, the waiting for the waters to recede. Noah did not rush, he did not despair. He waited for the divine timing, for the subtle cues from the raven and the dove. In a world that demands instant gratification, this ancient narrative reminds us of the profound power of patient endurance, of trusting the process, even when the outcome is unclear. What seeds of patience are you sowing in your own life, knowing that true transformation often requires quiet waiting and persistent effort? Consider, too, the profound act of remembrance embedded in the covenant. God explicitly states, "I will remember my covenant." Genesis 9:15-16. This divine remembrance is not a mere recalling of facts, but an active, perpetual engagement with the promise. And what about your remembrance? Do you remember the divine promises whispered to your soul? Do you remember the moments of grace, the instances of profound guidance, the times when you were miraculously preserved? To remember the covenant is to actively live in its truth, to carry its promise in your heart, transforming your perception of reality. When you face a personal storm, do you remember the rainbow, the symbol of enduring hope? The animals, entering 2 by 2, not only symbolize balance and partnership, but also the preservation of species and diversity. Even in judgment, there was an overarching intention to preserve the richness and variety of life. This speaks to the inherent value of all creation in the eyes of the Creator. It is a subtle but powerful message about interconnectedness, about the intricate web of life, and the importance of valuing every unique expression of existence. Do you recognize the sacred diversity in the world around you and within your own being? The narrative of Noah also speaks to the importance of a remnant. In times of widespread darkness or spiritual decline, there is always a chosen few, a dedicated core who remain true to the divine path.
Noah and his family were that remnant, a seed from which a new humanity could spring forth. This concept of the remnant is vital for your own spiritual journey. Even if you feel isolated in your pursuit of truth, even if the world around you seems to be moving in a different direction, remember that there is always a remnant, a spiritual lineage, a connection to those who walk the path of light. You are never truly alone in your journey. You are part of a larger, unseen community of seekers. Ultimately, the secret behind the Ark is not just an ancient historical event, but a timeless spiritual blueprint for navigating the challenges of existence. It reveals that the divine is intimately involved in human affairs, that cycles of cleansing and renewal are inherent to creation, and that an unbreakable covenant of hope and grace underpins all of reality. It challenges you to look inward, to build your own ark of faith and purity, to trust in the divine guidance that will lead you through any flood, and to emerge on the mountains of a new understanding, embraced by the perpetual promise of the rainbow. It is a story of hope beyond measure, of redemption for a fallen world, and of unwavering divine love that perseveres even when humanity strays. The Ark is within you, a sanctuary of peace amidst life's storms. The covenant is inscribed upon your heart, a promise of perpetual renewal. The rainbow is a reminder that after every deluge, there is always a new dawn, always a fresh beginning, always an opportunity to rise higher. If this story stirred something deep within you, subscribe and walk with us through the forgotten paths of Scripture, mystery, and revelation.